Hello everybody, this is Jeremy within the DAW. Welcome back. Today's video is going to be on the brand new Quick AG from Instant Audio. This is a really cool plugin that is being distributed through United Plugins. Now, you guys should know that name by now. We do a ton of videos on their stuff. And this is a really cool one that I just found out about like this morning. This was just released. This tool is designed to very quickly mix acoustic instruments, but get extremely good results. So let's just show you what this does. If I turn on the EQ and I switch between the different guitar modules that they have, you'll notice that it actually does change, and sometimes very drastically, on stuff like the mandolin. So each of these controls will be tuned to that specific instrument, which is very good to know because it makes sure that you know that this isn't just a gimmick. Now, as far as the modules are concerned, we have a pretty simple setup. Let me just grab an instance of Quick AG, and you can see that it's basically set up to have a reverb section, which has 3 different reverbs, a room, hall, and plate. But what makes this very interesting is you can actually morph between them. So as you turn the knob, it actually goes from the room to the hall, from the hall to the plate. Now this has length and dry wet. Very simple, but extremely good sounding. I would actually like if they just made this reverb a separate plugin. I would totally buy it. I really like the way that this sounds. Extra control is going to give you extra stuff. Transient designer that allows you to suck out the transient or push it out. Keep in mind that having it at 100% plus or minus is going to sound crazy, but having it at about 4 to 5% in a very compressed mix will actually help the pick attack stand out. My favorite section of the extra is the doubler. This thing sounds absolutely amazing, and you have the stereo width control right here. The compression is exactly like the reverb. You have a mount and release, and you can, again, morph between the different styles of compression. This, I'm not actually able to hear as much, and I think that's just because the tracks that we have were already processed on the way in, but the FET is definitely a lot more aggressive. It's a FET or 1176 style compressor. Varimute is very gooey, very warm, and kind of smooth. It's a tube-based variable compressor, and then you have clean, which is clean, digital. Actually, sometimes really good if you have stuff that's already been tracked with analog gear, like how I have like racks of really nice analog gear. The EQ section is very simple, and it is kind of what these little presets affect the most. You have the low cut, the body control, the deharshing, and the spark, which is kind of adding some high end, getting rid of some honkiness, adding body, and then getting rid of any rumble. Now, switching the module, like I showed you earlier, will indeed change the EQ parameters, and it will mess with everything else slightly, but it is mostly affecting the EQ, just because that's the most audible thing. So what I want to do is show you how does this sound. We're going to bypass Quick AG and play this guitar. Let's check it out in the mix. It sounds good, but I feel like we could do something else to it. So what I want to do is try every module out individually. Let's start off with the compression. We'll start with the FET. You can kind of hear how aggressive that sounds. It's very attacky. It kind of grabs it very quickly. Let's try Varimute. You can hear that tube style compression. It's a lot slower and smoother if we reduce the amount. And then clean does indeed sound clean. To my ears, I kind of like Varimute and FET, and that's just because I'm a very aggressive processing kind of person. I have a bunch of Neve EQs, Neve preamps, and Neve style compressors. For that reason, I like that very aggressive sound. So this is going to work for me. Moving on to the EQ, this is where we can actually tune the setup to see what type of sound we want. I want to go for a warm sound, so not so much high end, but just enough to cut through the mix. So let's try that out. We'll start with baritone, and then we'll move our way through. Baritone definitely has the most low end, and that's obviously going to happen because the baritone is going to be very deep. So I like body. Let's get rid of some harshness and add some sparkle. That's sounding pretty good. Let's move on to the reverb, and this is where it really gets cool. You can hear it shift between the different modules and styles. I love that. That just sounds really smooth. And I love how you can't hear any stepping. It just shifts and transforms. Kind of reminds me of the Melda production style reverbs. Next, let's try the extras and we'll mess with the doubler. I think a little bit of doubler and no transient was going to work for me. Let's bypass it. Now looking at my meters, I definitely see that the compression is doing quite a bit. It's not letting it really be very dynamic anymore. So we're going to bring up the output. Bypass it. We are quieter than the original signal and it sounds way different. Let's very quickly do a similar thing with the other one. Just grab an instance of Quick AG and get started. That's a pretty big difference. I actually am pretty impressed on how quickly I can get a decent result. Now, obviously, I could take time and actually make every single one of these modules sound perfect. And then I can even dial in the compression much more precisely. Consider this. I did this in real time and just went for it. And I got some pretty decent results. Personally, I really like the first one that we worked with. I think that one sounds perfect. The second one, bypass. I just went for a very subtle enhancement because the piano in the mix is obviously going to be filtered out and I want that to sound lo-fi. So I'm going to make these sound very nice and polished and then make the other production sound lo-fi around it. Overall, I'm impressed. I did not expect to get such quick results. And I'm going to be honest with you. I literally only read the manual and then did this video. I didn't even try this plugin out before I started this video. So let's see. CPU usage. I'm hitting about almost 1% CPU using this plugin, and considering it has so many modules on it, that's pretty good. I have a pretty beefy computer, so I'm hitting 10% CPU, but I'm also running a screen capture software. I have a bunch of synths in the background, and I actually have a bunch of other production software going on because I'm in the middle of writing a song with a client. So considering that this is hitting so low, this is definitely something you should check out. This is Jeremy Tay within the DAW. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. And with that said, I will see you guys next time. Remember to check out our website inthedaw.com for some free Helix presets and impulse responses and much, much more. Later, guys. I'll see you next time.